So, hi. Uh, just because I would like to talk to you about the future of shopping, I won't be just giving you a lot of details about shopping. So we will actually talk a bit more how you solve specific challenges that come together with analytics. Um, a bit about me. I'm consulting director at Teradata. I'm based in Berlin, and we are pretty much helping. In different industries as well, customers to come up with different kind of ideas and actually to industrialize what we call analytical projects, like kind of like data science projects, and it kinds of like requires as well lots of organizational changes. Um, but coming right now to what is the future of shopping? So um, how many of you actually still go to the stores and buy specific products and you think that you are not going to buy this online? Do you have some products of mind about that? Who still have products that you can only buy in a store? One, two, three, wow. Four, five, six. Okay, I think that if you all really encourage yourself, probably we will have a higher number. But normally, there's lots of studies that actually said that people won't be buying everything online. So there would be as well still kind of like stores, but stores are gonna be changing. It's not gonna be anymore like the point of sale where you actually just go and pay. It would become a point of experience. Just think about like how actually supermarkets appeared on the first time. Just if you go to your more older generations, like your grandparents, your parents, and they tell you about like the 60s, 70s, and when they remember what happened when the first supermarkets came, it was actually kind of like weird for them to just go to a store and don't have any kind of consulting. Just go there and you have all the products and you need to do everything by yourself because they were actually used to go to the market and they were always already talking to the people who was selling a product and was getting recommendations for them. So this seems to be changing right now with technology, and that's what we're going to be talking about. That so the customer is going to get to the center, and this is a huge challenge for every retailer right now, especially if you see how much data they are using for this. So, which are actually the advantages that you will have as a customer if everything goes right with the specific, for example, supermarket you may have in mind? So you will want to go to a supermarket or to a store as well for your clothing or whatever, just if they have the right product for you, and that's very hard to do. We will see about this. They need to have this at the right time. So there's a specific time when you are looking for something very specific, and that's the reason why you're going to the store. So it should be possible to have this product on the store at that time. You want as well the right place. You want to find your product in a specific location. You don't need to be traveling a lot, and you will have as well a right price for this. And this is as well a very interesting topic because we will be talking a bit more about like the foundations of economics, actually talking about more offering and demand and how you can calculate this actually. And I think that the most important thing is as well that you will be looking for a service. So having this in mind, come a question as well to the retailers. How do we start our journey to going more to a customer-centric base business? As you know, for example, right now, supermarkets or the retail stores are very, very function-oriented. And what is needed to start doing this? So we have helped many retails across the US and as well here in Europe to start this journey. So what we actually recommend when you start these kind of projects with big data, with advanced analytics, with deep learning, start very small. Don't start with a very complex thing because deep learning, and if you are actually developing complex deep learning models, they are very hard to maintain, especially if you want to do things at scale. So we will talk about this as well later on. So we sit together within the whole retail value chain. You have, for example, people who are called the category managers. Yeah, the category managers are the people who are responsible to place every single product in the store. Yeah, which means when you go into a store, let's let's just keep the example of a supermarket. If you go inside a store, and if you see specific products on the left, on the right, I don't know, depending as well how high it is, and you see the prices, someone was working very hard to do this, and it's not just one person, they are like very big teams, and this is very hard as well because you have like a specific unlimited space in a store, so which means that that you really need to use this, because if you take a product out, you know, of the shelves and you bring a new one, you could actually make very big losses. You could probably have lost revenues, or you could have actually very low margin. So that's what is very, very hard to decide for these people. I have new products, I would like to bring more products to the store, but what should I delist? So, and that's actually the main question. So we sit together always with these customers and you say, okay, that's the main question right now in category management. So let's start this journey right now just to think how just to focus in the value chain, which products you're going to be placing in the stores. And from the analytical perspective, I think that that's first a very hard question to solve. And I think that the first way to think about analytics is you just have one model, and it would be the answer for that. So we will see in this case that we actually have six steps, I think, to solve this question. And the first thing was to make an assumption. So we made the assumption that there is products which actually promote loyalty, which means actually products which people always going to be buying. And depends. There's lots of categories where you can have different kind of products. People are always going to be buying this. So we assume actually that this product loyalty is the main part to start analyzing. And how are we going to see if customers are loyal to products? We define, as I said, I think like 5 steps in this case. How we go from these measures to the prescription. So we will talk about like what we do with product affinity analysis. So that's very, I would say, simple to understand, and it's a very nice first step, and it's a very easy first milestone. And it's very important because if you are developing advanced analytics projects in big enterprises, you need to deliver results in order to get more funding, and that's what we are as well trying to drive with the project, so that you can continuously generate outcomes. And for example, the second step is as well path analysis. After doing this path analysis, we go through price and promotions, sensitivity, and after that we start clustering as well and making classifications around like customer loyalty and product loyalty. So we will actually go a bit deeper what we do with this. So if we go, for example, to the product affinity analysis, what do we do here? We see, for example, in different products, if you see product A and product B, so you are going to see how strong these links are between products and which products actually tend to be bought together. And doing this, you will actually kind of like have the opportunity to analyze even deeper which products are cross-selling candidates or substitution candidates. So you already kind of like have an idea which products are not selling together, which products you may be able to change. And that's actually a very important thing, because that's the basics of everything that we will continue to do, because as I said, we base all of our analysis in assumptions, and the following models that we will be using, or analysis that we'll be doing, will be as well based in these assumptions that we are going to have here. So to do this, we could, for example, there are many ways to do this. We normally do just doing some kind of collaborative filtering, and we just, as I said, represent this as well in a graph modeling, and we just show as well how strong are the links between products, so they're going to be bought together. Once we've done this, we go to the path analysis. What is a path analysis in this case? When we already know which products actually are sold together, we need to understand how this change through the time. Just to give you an example, you are used to buy a chocolate brand. Just imagine, for example, Milka chocolate. You are buying this constantly, and we see this through the time, but probably once you decide to buy another brand. So does this really imply that you are not loyal to Milka chocolate? Probably not. So that's exactly something that we still need to analyze. And that's kind of like the cohort that we are building here, so that we try to understand as well how this loyalty is changing across the time. So how actually customers are buying different products. So that's as well very interesting, because it is going to help us afterwards to calculate, or actually to identify the shopping missions of a customer. I will talk about this later on. So when I already know which products are substitute candidates, which products are cross-selling candidates, and I already know as well how is this changing across the time, I need to do an analysis as well across like promo and price sensitivity. So I need to do a demand analysis, which means every single product has a specific demand. So people are going to be looking for a specific product, and I need to predict which product is going to be bought on a specific day with a specific weather, with a specific conditions. So which means as we use for here GAM models, generalized additive models, and we have models for every single article, and we have as well models for every single store, so that you can imagine how big this data product can get. If I tell you that if you have an inventory for retailer and they have many thousands of products. So what we do here is pretty much we see which kind of consumers are more driven by price, and which kind of consume or products are actually helping customers just to decide by price or by the brand itself. So to give you an example, a consumer who we actually realize in an analysis that he's very price sensitive, we can actually assume that he has poor loyalty to a specific category of products, because he's just buying what is driven by price. But on the other side, you can actually know that customers which are still buying the same products when they are not on promotion, you know that they may have a very strong relationship with this product. So that's what we are doing. And that's actually the very interesting part here. So as well to predict which product will be bought as well if I take one product out. So just imagine that I made a decision that I have like ketchup A and ketchup B, and I just decided that I don't need ketchup B anymore. So it is possible to transfer this demand from product B to product A. So this is the kind of questions that we try to answer here. And once we know this, we go already we already go on and calculate the customer loyalty, which means we need to understand the shopping missions. That means remember the example about the chocolate. Yeah. It could be that you always buy Milka chocolate because that's for you personal, I don't know, satisfaction. You always do that. And when you decided to buy the other brand, it could be that you were organizing a party or you were having your birthday party. So we need to be able to identify why a customer is right now on the store. So that's the kind of things that we have been doing. So we understand if loyalty is going to be going to be affected as well, depending, understanding as well the shopping mission. So what's the goal of your visit? So that's very, very important to start understanding as well which products are actually have the potential to stay on the range and which products need to be taken out. So that's a very, very interesting tool. So when we did this project, at the end of the day, for the category managers, we didn't talk about like helping them to make decisions. So right now, if you see, for example, those customers, they already kind of like get kind of recommendations and say, okay, you could actually put this product instead of this product, and you could sell more, and you could actually increase your revenue or increase your margin, and you are able to make a decision based on your data. That's kind of like the first step. I think that that was very important as well to get more funding for further projects. That changed a lot as well the way how they think about data, and that's very important. As you saw here, we delivered output in every single interaction that we had. So don't make the mistake to define very big projects. I've seen as well in my career a lot of big data projects who are, for example, taking the question, which products should I delist? And they are thinking about like building the most beautiful neural network together with something very complicated, and they need a lot of time. So I have an example of mine where they were trying to predict just demand of a product, and they took 3 years to do a prototype. So as well, when you are going to be testing this with real-time data, with production data, probably your model is not going to perform as you were used to that. So be careful how you actually manage and how you actually define your milestones of your project. When we did this and when we were able already to optimize the range with these changes that we did and with this automated system that we built, the next question is, what is next? We've been working with transactional data. Everyone knows like classic BI, so the category managers and the people in the retail were working a lot with sales, revenue, margins, and actually making decisions on that. We already had a couple of iterations, so we already have been understanding what customers were doing. We had more data points to work on. And the next steps are right now the observations. So we were thinking, okay, we already need to scale more. Right now, we need to generate our own metadata, and we need to observe as well what's happening in the stores. So in this case, there are many ways to do this. So you have a lot of edges which can actually deliver data, and we start to work with sensors and with cameras. And we said, okay, we can use the cameras that you have already for security reasons, and we can give you the capability of web analytics. I don't know if some of you were working already in e-commerce, and you know that you can actually understand every single move that the customer are doing, and you are able to offer the best products at the right time. And that's actually what we are aiming to do. And to do this, we said if we use the cameras, we need to use a person product detection tracking system. So how it is work? We have the videos from different cameras, and we have like an optimized CNN model, which is actually identifying the people. But as you know, it's just identifying the people. We need as well to to track this across the frames of the videos. So we are having as well another neural network as well to do these jobs. So we have an architecture where we say we have like the principal models and we have secondary models, which means that we are always going to identify the people of the product. We are always going to identify if they are going to move. And depending of this, we will have another actions that we will be solving with secondary models. For example, if we are talking about like if we are talking about, for example, if a customer is happy, if he's engaged with other person, if a product, how much time is taking a person to evaluate a product. So this kind of stuff. So we are using kind of like different models. We're as well generating, of course, like physics-based features. So we know as well the velocity, the acceleration of the person, of products as well, if they are being changed. For example, one classic example is that many people take products out of the shelf and they just return them somewhere else. And if you are doing this, for example, with meat or with fresh things, you can actually be sure that those products are going to be thrown away. So it's kind of like waste that you are generating as a customer. So doing this, what we actually had is we were building a dashboard in which actually we were, that's actually our office in Santiago, is our coffee or cafeteria or something like that. And we start, of course, like tracking from different cameras and generating as well this metadata. How much visits do we have? How many conversions do we do as well per visit? Where the customers are concentrated. So customers are more in a region A or in different zones. And this helps us as well to run A/B testing, which is actually as well a very interesting topic across different retailers, and is very typical as well in the e-commerce world. So if you were working in the e-commerce, you know that that you do A/B testing for everything. You want to try a new button, you want to try a new banner, you want to try a new picture, you do A/B testing. So with this, we are given the capability as well to try new things and to analyze as well how the traffic is changing because of that, and we can kind of like generate a more more specific results about the actions that you are taking. So, doing this, you can imagine as well how much data we're having. So if I'm talking about like the largest retailers, you can imagine as well a very huge scales, probably retailers which are in 30, 40 countries with probably 15,000 products. So, and now more metadata coming from cameras. So what is the difference between being on production and what is the difference about like building systems at scale? So I think there is actually a main difference, and we will see about this in this section. And to give you an impression what is happening right now with analytics and what is actually digitization and how retailers are changing just to help you as a customer to have the right product on time, to give you things in real time, to have the right price, and all that kind of stuff that we're talking today. You just need to imagine that right now many of them are traditional ones, which means that most of the analytics that they are doing for decision making, which means, for example, for a bigger retailer, 2,500 people, 3,000 people are using systems, mostly for BI purposes. So they are trying to satisfy internal needs. Normally, you know, ad hoc management needs some data, some information. So that's mostly what is happening right now. So there are other retailers which we call best in class. What are they doing? What they are doing is already using some kind of interactions with the customer. So what happened here, for example, just to give you an impression, these 2,500 users could generate in average in a system, in analytical systems, around like 1.8 million queries in a day. So you need to make sure that actually you can you can manage that kind of actions being taken. So the best in class already, there are 200 million internal and external users. What is the meaning of this? If you think you don't only have customers in a retailer, you already in the value chain. If I'm making the decision about like I'm bringing a product to a store, I have my customer from the one side, and from the other side I have my suppliers. So I have the whole value chain that I need to manage, and I will well internally and externally, not only consumers. And if you see like what is going to happen in the future, we've written here that we will have around like 1.5 billion active consumers internally and externally, which means that you will be ages from as well more from different parts as well of the value chain. And just to give you an impression what this means, if you have in the future with this 1.5 billion around like 4 sessions in the week, yeah, from every single user, and 8 sessions during the weekend, we will be talking about like almost 7 billion queries per day. So that's a system that I don't know if many of you have built, but that's very massive. And the thing is that you need to make sure that if you have a system that is in production, it needs to be able to work as well with high concurrency, which is as well a very, very big problem in many enterprises that I have visited. So that's the challenge that we see. That's where we want to drive as well our customers to be able not only to bring things in production, but to be able to work at scale. So, what is at scale? How does this process look like? What we do, for example, just to show you an architecture of this, we call this analytic ops. That is kind of like a DevOps for analytics. If we are talking about like the product that we have developed with the category management, so you have like your data systems, for example, and you have your data science workbench. You're working, of course, with I don't know, developing in Jupyter as well, workbench, or with R, wherever you are using, and you still need to be using that in order to be able to innovate on. Right now in Europe is that we are very good at innovate. We're very good at just researching a lot, but we're very bad at putting things in production. We're very bad at scaling, and that's the problem that we have right now. So with model management, what we aim to do is, for example, to simplify and automate how you validate a model. So this process, especially as well across systems, because we've seen as well in the past that if you have data products with several models or thousands of models, depending as well which kind of use case you have, you need to be testing as well with production data. So, and that's a very huge challenge to be changing environments all the time. So you need to automate how you validate the models. You need as well to automate how you train models. You need as well model approval. That's something that's very important. Probably the first time that that when I always go to companies, they heard this for the first time, because they always think, okay, a data scientist has built a model, so everything looks good, let's deploy it. But it's not in that way. For example, if you just think in the category management example that I told you, if we send a recommendation to a category manager and we say, just substitute this product category, we will be probably talking about like an uplift or some millions of euros. And if you're wrong with your model, you probably will be having lots of problems with that category manager. So we have different kind of approvals. You have technical and business approvals, and that needs to be as well part of your process. And of course, you need to be you need to make sure that you are gonna be you need to make sure that you work as well in the consumption. So how is going to be consumed these models as well, and how are you going to scale that? Of course, you will have user interfaces. You will have repositories, a bit more technical, so where you actually need to store as well models. You will be having model versioning, where every single change that you are doing in your models are going to be logged. So it doesn't matter if you are actually working with if you are working, for example, in an existing data product and you are just updating this model with a specific data set, training set, or a test set, or if you decide to bring a new model, you are logging all that, generating metadata, and you are actually working structured as well as actually the classic software engineering best practices, I would say. Of course, there are many technologies involved here, so you are actually free to use everything what is in the market. Very important is though, I always used to compare tech with fashion and style. Today we live in a world where actually tech is a lot like fashion. So you need to have like very fancy clothes or whatever, and you need to be changing that like probably twice in a year. So make sure that you don't do that with technology. Make sure that you have your style instead of fashion, and you can change when you think it's important from time to time, and you can actually get better. And that's as well a recommendation that I would give you, because we've seen as well that many companies are changing technology stacks too fast, and many things are coming back where they were before or going somewhere different. So just make sure that you are architecting your things or your data products in a way that you are open for change, but you are not just kind of like changing all the time. Yeah. Just to show you, like, yeah. That is, for example, how you manage your systems. Yeah, that's our perspective, how you do that. So if you see, for example, here, you have, for example, in this example, like models. For example, we would work in a diabetes, for example, just to show you how you manage the models. And in this case, we are changing some kind of parameters, or first using, for example, from the neural network. and we're going to train this model. So everything is happening, structured. You're training the model. And just let's say, for example, that in this model is trained, is already in the tool, like it's already trained. And just let's say that was kind of like was live or whatever. And now you are already challenging the model, or you're having, let's say in this case, it's just like changing parameters. But as I said, you can have like a completely new model. And you select, of course, how your training set as well. There will be as well logged which training set you used. And yeah, it's completed. Didn't take that much. Probably in reality, it's going to be longer. And you already have, for example, the two trained models. So you already know that you have that. So what would be the next step to do? You will be evaluating that within as well with a test data set. So you are doing the evaluation, for example, of the first model, and you will be doing that as well with the second model. So you have already the status there that you have an evaluated model, and you will continue with the next one. So you have two evaluated models, and you now need to compare them. So you right now would say, okay, I'm in the time where I need to compare what I want to deploy. So you can take the models that you are doing for these specific use cases. And of course, this is a very short report, but you can, depending how much metadata you have of your model, you can have a technical view, how, for example, the hyper parameters, how the accuracy is changing. As well, you can have the business perspective. You can have the KPIs, how they are going to be changing if you're going to deploy this model. So when you do this, you approve one of them. So you have an approved model. On the other one, what you will do, you don't need it anymore. But still, you will have in your system that you were using that. And you would say, for example, first that you approve model you want to deploy. So you already have a deploy model. What happened here is actually you were as well cross systems. You were not just working in your test environment, you were working as well in production environments, and you actually deployed in production environments here. And the other one, we are going to just take it away. Good. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you as well, and I hope that I could just give you my view about like what is about bringing things in production and actually bringing things as well to work at a scale. So my key takeaways for today, and if you want to discuss as well this today, I'm happy to have further discussions. Is start smart and control the milestones. As I said, doing very complicated stuff. So if you start doing an advanced analytics projects and you are being responsible of this, just be actually sure that people are going to be expecting, and this expectation to manage that. I think that many technical people, we tend to underestimate that. And that's actually kind of like the most important thing for success of the project. So control the milestones. As I said, we have like 5 defined steps. We make sure that we deliver output and that we communicate this output so that we can get founded, and we can get founded to work afterwards with deep learning and build the capability that I showed you, the capability where you actually can actually engineer these machine learning models as well to have continuous integration of development, monitoring systems, and have actually products that can be bigger. Important as well, as I said, data science is king, team is King Kong, as we say, is make sure that you involve all the people required, especially in order to manage expectations. There's a lot of people in your companies, the business guys, who actually have a lot of knowledge of why things need to be done, and you can get a lot of input. Don't try to learn the business by yourself, because those guys have been working 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, and they have knowledge that is very, very important for you to develop the things that you want to do, and as well to be successful. Um, as I said, understand tech as style. So make your own style and don't follow the fashion every time. So just be sure that it's at the right time. And production is not the same at scale. I always have very interesting conversations when I talk to everyone has things on production, but if you talk to the so just look what it means as well to bring at scale, to have, for example, in a big enterprise, working models for all the countries, for many parts of value chain. So that's on the scale, and that's things that you really need to think in the journey. So you need to create in every single proof of concept as well capability to do that. Yeah. And important, of course, but probably important more for the business guys, make sure, of course, that you give return on investment. So that would be everything from me, and thank you as well for being here.